And I think I continuing the story I left last week.
Yes.
So the last time, I refresh everybody's memory a little bit, is the person, and I went to the re-education camp together. His name is Missile. And so 5 of us left over. They didn't accept us, went to the only chance to the college. And so on the Chinese New Year's Eve, he coming to the village, we had dinner together, and then he said to me, he wanted to suggest that 5 of us should get together and have a group suicide. So that will call the attention of the government and protest the injustice. And so I told him, I said that, it doesn't work because they only hurt the people love you. And it doesn't matter. And not going to do anything for the people. They don't care about you. And we are the people, and they call the children of the class enemy. And so they don't care about us. So they would not care we live or dead. And so I told him that so I give the example, and lots of good people, and during the Cultural Revolution, they all commit suicide. And the people I know, people I love, and nothing gonna changing. So, but he still think about the suicide thoughts, and he think, those villagers, those people, and they love us, and they probably and will feel bad. Of course, they feel sad, when people love. But the government, the CCP, and the people reach others, they don't care. So we're exchanging the story, its experience, and the attempt the suicide. How do we overcome that? So I told him, I thought about that, serious think about that. It's the first time. So I was 13 then. 1966, the Cultural Revolution started. So when I saw the red guy beating a teacher in front of me, and also follow, and they want me to write the big post put on my door, I didn't do it. So they coming into my house, and then force me to denounce my parents and beat them up and tied us up. And that night, it's a miracle, and I just survived, didn't beat to death. So after that, for a long time, and I don't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted to commit suicide because I think there's nothing for me. There's no hope. When you were 13 years old, when you feel overnight and from your fantasy world or coming to the reality, and there's nothing for you. It's no future, nothing. And so what the reason for you to live, right? So I just seriously think about it. I wanted to some way out. So I saw and they have those people that time to recruit, right now the Uyghur, those people and live in the Xinjiang province. They coming to recruit Shanghai, and the students go there. Basically, the CCP wanted to changing the racial balance, they say that, because they think over there, all the minority, the Uyghurs, so they want to changing that. So they coming to recruit the people. So I even went to their office, and I say, I want to go, because I just want to get away somewhere, and to start my life, maybe have some chance. And so they just laughed at me because they say, well, little girl, what are you going to do over there? You're only 13 years old. We don't need people like that. So they sent me back. So I think I really know where to go. So I just not thinking seriously. And every day I come home and somebody commits suicide in the quarter I live. So that thought, I never can get away that. Also, I see some are same as my age, the kids, and commit suicide. Mostly, they all very serious kids, So my father found out that, so he know I was probably not want to live or something. So he think he had to help me. And also he think one of the days they're going to talk me away from him. He cannot protect me. And so he should have give me something like the vaccinations for me to, protect myself and have a will to live in this harsh environment. So he told me, he said that you like to read. I said, of course. My mother always called me a bookworm because I can read a book without eating or sleep and to finish the whole book. So my father said, I want you to read something. It's not for kids and it's for adults. Are you ready to do that? I said, of course, anything. And they said, I want you to read the Chinese history. And I said, entire history? He said, yeah. I said, how many books I have to read? He said, it doesn't matter. You have to start somewhere. And from when beginning, they have the story. And that was 700 BC. And those story. And they read until the latest dynasty, Qing dynasty. And they have three rulers, those stories. So he just gave me the book. I started reading. It's difficult because the language, the Chinese language in those books is classic. Just like English right now, you don't read those words in Shakespeare. They use this word, it's the words are dead, never use it. So I can guess. So, I just maybe lots of words. My father told me, he said, don't stuck in the words you don't recognize. Just read the entire sentences, so just to guessing what the meaning is. So I started reading. I just fascinated me. I just don't want to eat. I don't want to sleep. I have to finish the book. And I read all the histories, everything. And then my father told me, he said, oh, what do you think now? Compare the history, what they've been through. And right now, I said, well, lots of things happened before. So it's not, it's a tragedy. But that's, entire history, 5,000 years, we've been through so many of those things. So right now, we just, in one of a kind of, period, we had to go through this. And they say, well, that's right. But after that, now you know what's happened is never happened before. But I still want you to learn how to dealing with that. I remember just last week, I think Billy said something. You say that depend on, what kind of philosophy and you use and to think about those things happening to us, right? So it's true. So he introduced me to further reading those philosophy. And so Chinese have so many of those different philosophers write those books. So I started reading those things. So after that, I think it's true, depend on how you think. If lots of people think it's a tragedy, maybe, the bad things will lead to the good things. So the philosophy, how you to dealing with, how you to explaining the things happening is so important. So you're not going to, chasing a dead end. And so you're not going to commit suicide. And so you know how to dealing with. So I told this, my experience to the missile. So I tried to talk him out of those thoughts. But he seems like, he said, well, I know you like history, you like philosophy. He said, I don't like any of it there. He said, I like science. I want to be Einstein. I said, well, I know. I said, I don't know much about the science and the Einstein, but the one thing I know, he has this relativities. Relativities also is a philosophy. Everything's related, right? You see, that's true. I said, well, think about it. Lots of things that you say that it's bad, it's good, whatever, are related to what you will determine is bad or good. He said, well, you're right. I said, yeah. I said, you think science is not philosophy? Actually, it's philosophy too. Philosophy also is a science. And so we exchanging our ideas, everything. So seems like we talk about until midnight. So next morning, he back to the project. So he said, well, he said that, I feel much better. And he said, well, you never know what's going to happen to us. He said that today we sit here because that time in Yunnan Province earthquake a lot, big earthquake. Sometimes some whole town would disappear like a Pompeii. And he said that you never know. Maybe we're sitting here and the next day we were in America. I said, earthquake shake us down while way below us. I said, wow, it may be just true. I said, but that time we never think about we have any chance, to America. But at least we joked. And so we feel like, maybe we had to wait and maybe have other opportunities. So at least not to go to this group suicide idea. And but that's I'm talking. But I don't know. I believe. I think from that point, also he told me about his tragic stories, and his father was an engineer, and but somehow they found out that his what I call the father, the grandpa, have landowners, so they call landlords. And so they make him as a class enemy during the Cultural Revolution. And also, it's just like me, they want your kids to denounce your parents. So they make him to denounce his father. He's the only son in the family. And also, I think his parents was in the, probably after 50, and finally get him, So it's the older parents. And so he not just denounced him, they also forced him and to beat him up, tied him up and beat. And he did. He said that, that probably is the worst thing ever happened to him. Think about that. You had to force to beat up your father. And
wow.
Yeah, and so after that, his father probably 2 days later and hanged himself. Because he denounced him and they forced him to say, you're not my father. I hate you. You are enemy, whatever it is. So the father couldn't bear it. He's the only son and told him like that, denounced him. So he committed suicide. So that make him for very long time, I think a really big hit, And so he been through that, he's not talking to anyone, not talking to his mother, everything else. And he just couldn't forgive himself. He thought that he killed his father directly. So anyway, I think that's make a bigger impact and on his mental status. It left the scar forever. So, after that, lots of years passing by, eventually, probably 3 months later, I got a chance to go to the Kunming, which was the capital of the Yunnan Province, the engineering school, because that teacher coming down, and he helped me because he said his father also is a class enemy. So he understands my situation. So he prepared 2 applications. And he said that if the local government didn't let you go and to replace officers' children, he said, I still have another one. I will tell the school in Kunming and to accept you. So at least, to guarantee you that have this quarter for you. And so he helped me actually successfully and went to that. Probably 6 months later, Miso also get a chance. I think another university in Sichuan province, and they was a branch of a Shanghai University. So they went coming down 6 months later, and so they accepted him. So it's not exactly, I wanted to go to medical school or something. And because, when the conversation, I asked him, I said, what do you want to do? He said, I want to be a rocky science. And I said, asked me what I want to do. I said, I was interested in neuroscience. So that's what our original dream, right? But they didn't let me to go to medical school or anything. I just ended up in the mechanical engineering, which was I never even think about wanted to learn. And then I think he go to some kind of a chemistry, high poly chemistry or something, to study. They gather those material from the rubber tree and make like a plastic kind of thing. And anyway, after that, and he was very successful in the school, and he becoming a professor in that school. And eventually, and because his mother still in Shanghai alone, and so he applied to go back to taking care of the mother. And he left the university and landed a job in Shanghai. And then eventually, he opened his own company because he had some kind of inventions or something, because he's a very smart guy. And so after that, so basically the pretty successful story, he becoming, have his own company and everything else. I think I had to continue the story because running out of time today. And then after that, another twist happened to his life. And so I will continue next week.